美国公路自行车赛职业车手兰斯·阿姆斯特朗因从睾丸癌中康复过来后，连续7次获得环法自行车赛冠军而闻名。在今年的威尼斯电影节上，由阿莱克斯·吉布内执导的纪录片《阿姆斯特朗的谎言》在竞赛单元之外放映。
You know, I always thought I was making a film about will. You know, the will to win. And I think in Lance Armstrong's case, it was also inspirational because the will to win was tied into actual survival. I mean, the will to win over cancer. So what a story. But I suspected that, you know, when somebody has that much will, there's a darker side to that always. I just thought the darker side would be a smaller part than the more inspirational side. As it turned out, it kind of flipped.
让阿姆斯特朗从天堂掉到地狱的正是他自己。2012年8月，美国反兴奋剂机构宣布剥夺他7个环法自行车赛头衔，并且终身禁赛。2013年1月，他接受奥普拉专访时坦诚曾用过禁药。
Look, I think Lance, to some extent, is always a curator of his own myth and his own story. And I think he realizes that he's no longer Superman, that people no longer see him that way. So now he's interested in a different kind of a story. And I think he wanted to spin it, but I think he was more honest, and you can see in some of his answers a kind of honesty that doesn't always lead Lance to be the people I think they want him to be, but I think he was being far more honest this time around. Because I look back in the footage from 2009, and there's what I didn't see at the time was that there was a lot of material there where he's just lying to me straight out.
I didn't live a lot of lies, but I lived one big one. You know, it's different, I guess. Maybe it's not. But yeah, and what I said in there with just how this story is all over the place, and there are these two, you know, these just complete opposite narratives.
To really repair his reputation, he has to learn to be more vulnerable and more introspective. That's a very hard thing for Lance Armstrong to do. So I'm not sure he's really going to get back that kind of public interest in him until he actually reckons with the consequences of what he's done.
The cynics.
该纪录片不仅调查了阿姆斯特朗使用违禁药品的经过和他的心理斗争与自我责罚，更揭露了体育竞技中存在更大、更严肃的问题。
Lance Armstrong was not the only guy who was doping, and I think there's a temptation to say it's Lance Armstrong, but we're all clean. But one of the things we know from this story, and it's not just Lance, but Tyler Hamilton and Floyd Landis, is they all told lies. And it's very hard for athletes to reckon with the idea that they're telling a lie when they take performance-enhancing drugs, because they don't want to accept that it's not that they didn't win purely because of their own physical exertion. So yeah, there's a context here, which is that doping in sport, and particularly cycling, is a problem.
The only person that can actually start to let people understand what the true narrative is me. And you should know that better than anybody. Let's get to the real nature and the real detail of the story, because we haven't heard it yet. Is the truth.